Alright Lions fans, we have some big news that will have a big impact on our defense heading into the offseason. But before we dive into the details, be sure to hit that like button so you never miss out on the latest updates. Now tell me, who would you like to see on our roster next season? Let me know in the comments. Let's start by talking about a key player we could be in danger of losing. As you all know, the Lions brought in Carlton Davis last March in a huge trade with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It cost us a 2024 third-round pick and two 2025 sixth-round picks, but the move paid off. Davis immediately elevated the secondary, allowing the Lions to run more man-to-man coverage. He was instrumental in helping our defense hold together during an injury-plagued season. Let's talk numbers for a second. Davis had 56 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries and 1 forced fumble in 2024. His 72.1 coverage grade, according to Pro Football Focus, ranked him as the 21st best cornerback in the league. More importantly, he allowed just a 55.3% completion percentage when targeted. Those are the kind of numbers that make quarterbacks think twice about throwing in his direction. But here's the bad news. Davis is set to hit free agency, and according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, some teams already have him as the number 2 cornerback in this free agency class. One team to keep an eye on? The Jacksonville Jaguars. Fowler mentioned that while the Jags aren't expected to spend big this offseason, they are looking to bolster their secondary, and Davis could be their guy. Losing Davis would be a significant blow to our defense. Sure, rookie Terrion Arnold has shown flashes of potential and will continue to develop, but having Davis on the field has helped mask some of those rookie growing pains. With Davis and Arnold, the Lions would have the luxury of 2 high-level cornerbacks, allowing us to maintain a man-to-man heavy scheme that has been a cornerstone of our defensive philosophy. Even with Aaron Glenn now coaching the New York Jets, that philosophy isn't likely to change much. The Lions promoted linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard to defensive coordinator, and while he may bring some fresh ideas to the table, his time learning from Glenn suggests a similar approach to defensive schemes. Keeping Davis would be a crucial part of continuing that defensive identity. So what's next for the Lions? You can bet Brad Holmes and the front office will do everything they can to keep Davis in Detroit, but with other teams circling, it won't be easy. The Lions are in a strong financial position heading into this offseason, but they will need to be strategic to ensure they retain their top talent while continuing to build a championship-caliber roster. Alright, Lions fans, now I want to hear from you. How important do you think it is for the Lions to re-sign Carlton Davis? Do you think we should go all in on keeping him, or are there other priorities we should focus on? Now, let's talk about the rising star that is Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions' electrifying and versatile running back. If 2024 proved anything, it's that Gibbs isn't just a great player, he's the key to taking this team's offense to the next level. The numbers don't lie, but neither does the eye test. When Gibbs touches the ball, magic happens. After an impressive rookie season, Gibbs took it to the next level in 2024, surpassing 1,400 rushing yards for the first time in his career. But he didn't stop there. He racked up 517 receiving yards and tied the league-high 16 rushing touchdowns, setting a Lions franchise record with 20 total TDs. Those are MVP-caliber numbers, folks. And let's not forget David Montgomery, who paired with Gibbs to form one of the best running back duos in the league. Together, they racked up more than 2,100 rushing yards and 28 touchdowns on the ground. Their combined efforts helped the Lions' backfield become the first in the NFL since 2006 to surpass 3,000 yards from scrimmage and 30 touchdowns. But here's the thing, Lions fans, as good as Montgomery is, Gibbs is simply on another level. When Montgomery suffered a season-ending knee injury, Gibbs stepped up and showed he could carry the load. In the final 3 games of the regular season, he had 3 consecutive 100-yard performances, including a monster game against the Vikings in Week 18. That game was must-win territory for the Lions, and Gibbs delivered 139 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, plus another receiving touchdown. Talk about clutch. Gibbs followed that up with another impressive playoff performance, with 105 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns against Washington. Meanwhile, Montgomery, in his return, managed just 28 yards on 7 carries. No disrespect to Montgomery, he's a valuable part of this team, but Gibbs is simply the most dynamic player. So what does that mean for 2025? New offensive coordinator John Morton needs to lean into what he's worked on, more Gibbs. Put the ball in his hands as much as possible, whether it's running between the tackles, breaking outside for big gains, or catching passes out of the backfield. Gibbs is the spark this offense needs. And let's talk about why that matters beyond the stat sheet. Putting more responsibility on Gibbs means taking the pressure off Jared Goff. Goff had a solid season overall, but let's be honest, he threw 12 interceptions during the regular season, his highest total since 2020. Then came the playoff loss to the Commanders, where Goff threw 3 more interceptions in a heartbreaking loss. Limiting those situations by leaning on a player like Gibbs could make all the difference. Gibbs' versatility keeps defenses guessing, opens up opportunities for play-action plays, and minimizes the chances of Goff draft being forced into risky throws. It's a win-win scenario. No offense to the Lions' talented pass catchers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta, but Gibbs is the game changer. Morton would be wise to design the offense around him. This is the blueprint for not only making the playoffs, but going much deeper in 2025. All right, Lions fans, it's your turn. Do you think Jahmyr Gibbs should be the centerpiece of the offense next season? Is more Gibbs the key to a Super Bowl run? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Brad Holmes has a history of making bold moves in the offseason. We've seen it before, whether it was supercharging the offense a few years ago or completely overhauling the secondary last season. But based on what we've seen so far, it looks like 2025 will be all about fixing the point position. And when I say fix, I mean a near-total reboot. Let's be honest, Lions fans, the point depth last season was a struggle. Aiden Hutchinson was the only consistent force, and while Josh Paschal and Zadarius Smith had their moments, injuries and a lack of depth made it difficult for the defense to generate the kind of pressure needed to dominate games. Holmes isn't the type of GM to let that slide. Expect him to overcorrect in the best way possible. What does that mean? Likely a mix of draft picks and free agency moves to completely rebuild this unit. Hutchinson is obviously the cornerstone, but beyond him, it's an open question. Smith's contract is hefty, and while he's a proven veteran, the Lions may decide it's time to clear some cap space by moving on from him. Paschal has shown promise, but we need more than flashes. We need a deep rotation of guys who can step in and get the job done. Holmes has proven he knows how to build a roster strategically, compartmentalizing his focus each offseason. Last year it was the secondary, and we saw immediate improvements there. The year before, the goal was to make the offense a juggernaut, and that mission was accomplished. Now, it's time to build a defensive front that can carry this team to the playoffs. Let's not forget that Holmes has a history of finding and developing players who take time to blossom. Derek Barnes, Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal and Ifeatu Melifonwu all took a few years to develop but have become key contributors. There's every reason to believe Broderick Martin could be next in line. He has the size and athletic ability to be a force, but he was a raw prospect coming out of college. Holmes knew that when he drafted him, and that's part of what good teams do. They invest in projects because they have the depth and patience to see them through. Now, when it comes to free agency, Holmes has some big decisions to make. There are 34 free agents on the roster, and while I expect about 19 of them to return, there are some intriguing names that could shake things up if the Lions decide to part ways. Maintaining strength in the trenches is crucial, which is why I think veteran point guard Kevin Zeitler is worth bringing back, despite the emergence of Christian Mahogany, who could be ready for a starting role. Keeping the line strong on both sides of the ball will be key. So what does all this mean for us Lions fans? It means we should expect an aggressive approach to building a dominant edge unit. Holmes won't settle for another season with little depth at a critical position. The goal is clear. Build a defense that can take this team from a playoff contender to a legitimate Super Bowl threat. All right, Lions fans, now I want to hear from you. What do you think about Brad Holmes focusing on a near-total redefinition of the point guard position? Who should we target in free agency, and which draft prospects have caught your eye? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe to the channel. Go Lions!